All right. So I want to talk about the sun and where it is in your chart and why that is super important. Okay. So first of all, your sun sign is basically your signature energy, or it is the path in which you're going to go about life. So even if you don't really resonate with your sun sign, you're still going to have the experiences of that sign. Those elements of that sign are going to be dominant or important in your life, whether you resonate with your sign or not. Okay. But what's important is that's the what, right? What's the core energy, right? You're a sun in Libra. We have something dealing with partnership and you're relating to other people, and partnership within relationships, business, friendship, socialization, those things are going to be important to you. Even if you don't feel like a Libra, right? If you're a sun in Gemini, information is going to be really important to you. Communicating with other people, all those different things that are very Mercury based are going to be important, even if you don't feel like a Gemini, right? But where that sun is going to show you how it's going to represent itself, though, right? Because you could be a sun in Gemini, but if you're sun in Gemini in the 8th house, that's going to make a big difference than in comparison to someone who has a sun in the 3rd house. So your sun placement is very important because it's going to tell you how is that energy going to play out. The houses are kind of like neighborhoods, right? So you can have, if you think about it like analogy like that, you can live anywhere you want to live, but the neighborhood is going to give you a different experience. So look at your sun placement as the neighborhood. It's going to give you a different experience, right? And so the first one I want to talk about is going to be, I'm kind of not going in order, but I do want people to understand the importance of knowing your sun placement or the placement of someone that you're involved with, or your child or friends, family, anybody that you want to have a better understanding of that person's core energy or where they're going to shine the most. The sun is where you're going to shine the most. It is where you can see, you have the most potential to be seen in this area of your life. All right, sun in the 5th house. Okay. So the sun likes being in the 5th house. The sun, that sun is not a planet, but it's considered a planet when we talk about astrology. The moon and the sun are considered planets, even though they're not literally planets, right? We know that. But that's what we're going to refer to it as for the sake of astrology videos. So the sun rules the 5th house. The 5th house is of fun, happiness, entertainment, talents, children, fun, recreation, dating. Anything that's lighthearted in nature is the 5th house. The 5th house is not really serious, okay? It's not a serious house. It's a house that's with fun. And so, and things that are enjoyable, things that make us happy, right? And so your sun's in the 5th house. You're going to shine when it comes to talent, or when it comes to entertaining others, or when it comes to your personality, or you might have a certain talent that brings people together. The 5th house, I call certain houses public houses. These are houses that people can easily see what you're about. That's like the 1st house. We can see what you're about. The 3rd house, maybe that's your communication. We can't see what you're thinking. An open house, definitely the 7th house, how you relate to people. 5th house is definitely a public house. Houses that are more secretive, we have like the 12th house, the 8th house. Those two especially are a little bit more, even the 4th house is more private. So those are more private houses. So when you think about the 5th house, you're going to shine in areas when it comes to others and expression. You're going to shine when it comes to your expression of your talents, of your personality, of your beliefs, especially with like sun and Sag in the 5th house, something like that. Now, what's different in the 1st house? The 1st house is your identity. The 1st house is how you present yourself to others. The 1st house is self-actualization. The 5th house are the things that you do. You see what I'm saying? So the 5th house is more activities. The 1st house is more identity. So when you have the sun in the 5th house, anytime there's a prominent planet in the 5th house, you definitely have the possibility of having children, more than one child, or children being a part of your life. You might be a person who doesn't want children, doesn't have children, but you raise your nieces and nephews, or you somehow become a surrogate parent or a parent-like figure to someone. That is very possible with 5th house placements. You have to definitely look at your 5th house if you're thinking about children and how children might impact your life. This is also a great place for like talent, comedians, actors and actresses, musicians, because the 5th house is fun. So you think about activities, concerts, parties, events. The 5th house it's gonna have a lot of that energy there. So if you have your sun in the 5th house, even if you have it in a more reserved sign, you have sun in Virgo, you can be really known for, maybe you work I'm making this up, but like, let's say, because the fifth house is like open, right? But Virgo is more analytical, introverted, you know, thought processed type of sign. But you might be someone who maybe you're really known for, you're a writer, right? But you're popular, or you write screenplays, or you're a writer for a really popular show, because the fifth house can also denote popularity. So even though you're a Virgo, and that energy sometimes is more internal and reserved, and Virgo likes to process things on their own, and Virgo is more, you know, more of a one-to-one sign, sometimes small groups. I don't think Virgo is like that really extroverted sign all the time. Depends on who Virgo is, obviously, right? But you still are going to have that energy because your sun is in the fifth house. So even if you're a sign like that, even if you're Taurus, Taurus is very calm. Taurus prefers stability and comfort. If you're a Taurus in the fifth house, remember, Taurus is also linked to beauty. Taurus can be linked to beauty. Taurus can be linked to you know, home creativity, practical creativity, how things should be, classic type of stuff. This could be someone who's in the fifth house. They're a Taurus, but they're beautiful, and they're in the fifth house, so they're a model or something like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different ways this can manifest, but regardless of whatever your sign is, if your sun is in the fifth house, you're someone who is going to shine when you show your talents, when you enjoy yourself. Think about what you love to do, because now you can even make money depending on what else is in that house, especially if you have Venus or you have anything that can produce money. You can make money off your talents if your sun is in the fifth house. Now, you can make money off your talents no matter where it is, but I'm saying the fifth house is really related to that. And so you have more of that ability to take what you enjoy and be seen for it. Whereas other people might struggle with that, right? You might be really good at dancing and people notice you because your sun's in the fifth house. So you're automatically you have that energy to be seen, right? It's just naturally there. Other people can be just as successful as you, but they might have to work a little bit harder, where because you're in the fifth house, in the fifth house, we're dealing with like activities. Because of that, it might be a little bit easier for people to see you as a really good dancer, because that fifth house energy is there, that flair, that flavor, the popularity, all those different aspects that can definitely make someone with the fifth house energy have more of those things. Now, the problem with sometimes sun in the fifth house is focusing so much on fun that you ignore certain other things, right? And you want to make sure, like, because sometimes the fifth house can be so wrapped up in what they like and what they enjoy that sometimes other things can lag. And so don't be so obsessed with your own, because remember, when you're doing too much, okay, you want to go to your opposite house to work on that, right? So the opposite of fifth house is the 11th house of groups, associations, purposeful groups though. It's not just socializing for the sake of it. The 11th house, now we talk about society, we talk about our hopes, our wishes, our ideas. How do we form groups? How do we impact groups? What is our social life like? So if you're tapping, you find that you're doing too much fifth house stuff, so that you can do more 11th house stuff, where you're now finding groups and things that you're belonging to that are more purposeful. Or simply also focusing on areas of your life where you could be more responsible. Because if you live only in your fifth house, you're only worrying about things that you like, and you're not seeking higher evolution or higher, elevating your own thoughts. All right, so that's it for this video. Hopefully you liked it. Please, if you need any more information about your chart, or you need to book a reading, visit www.amethystvirgo.com.